Hello, Canucks fans. Welcome back to another episode of Canucks Conversation brought to you by Bet365. We're coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studios. Visit shoptoyota.ca or visit your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. My name is Dave Woodrelli. I am joined by Harman Dial. A good day for the tank, Harm. Like, Flames win, Canucks lose. It's a good day for the tank, but call me crazy. And I know I've got this Canucks will finish the month above 500 written behind me. And for those on the podcast, I hope you don't feel left out because the people on video can't read my writing either. I feel for these players. They've controlled a lot of these games that they've been losing lately. They've been playing well, and I know I brought up the other day how after Friday's game, I had the conversation with Jake DeBrusk, and he brought up the fact that, yeah, it's great that we're controlling, but we're not finishing. That was a story last night as well for DeBrusk himself. A couple really, really good chances early on in that game to open the scoring against some power play opportunities where he was kind of at the forefront, hits a post, gets denied by John Gibson. A frustrating night for these players. And I just want to say that off the top. It's a good night for the tank, but I feel for these players. I do.
They're trying. They're working on a night in, night out basis. You can never question their effort. They never let up, even when they're trailing in games. They play till the final buzzer. You can also tell that compared to the first several weeks of the season, their 5-on-5 play has legitimately improved. This Detroit game, the Utah performance, other nights where it's not as if they're getting massively outshot and outchanced. Even look at the loss they had to the San Jose Sharks, where at 5-on-5, I really like their game, but their special teams just let them down. Broadly speaking, as well, over the last couple of weeks, their underlying numbers, which during the first quarter of the season were horrendous, were awful, and were pointing to these are the kinds of numbers that you would expect from a team that finishes bottom three in the standings. Over the last couple of weeks, they've been building in the right direction. They're a lot closer to break even in a lot of these shot and chance metrics. But this is where you get to the second part of the equation when it comes to driving results and consistently winning games. Is it's not just having a territorial edge. You've gotta have the edge when it comes to finishing and goaltending as well. And this is where, through the first quarter of the season, ironically, the process wasn't there, but they were on a mini shooting percentage bender. So you had O'Connor, Sherwood, these kinds of guys just producing offense at obscene rates and masking over just how bad the process was. And now it feels like it's flipped a little bit, where the underlying process has improved, but now you're seeing the lack of finishing talent on this roster, the lack of high-end skill, the lack of game breakers, especially with Elias Patterson out of the lineup. Realistically, how much, when you're controlling play, how much offense are you going to create though when you're relying on David Kampf as your first or second line center? So you're right. I feel for these guys because they're trying, they're doing a lot of things right, but they don't have the finishing talent. And in that Red Wings game as well, it's not as simple as, oh, they definitively outplayed the Red Wings and deserve to win. Because, yeah, they had the upper hand in a lot of these shot and chance metrics, but when the Canucks had a defensive breakdown, there were the types of goals that Kevin Lankinen realistically had no chance on, just egregious breakdowns that, yeah, the Canucks had a lot of quality chances, but they didn't have the, like, screaming, like, alarming kind of looks that the Red Wings had on their goals.
That's fair, but Kevin Lankin was still story last night. Gets the pull after the second period, allows 3 goals on 13 shots, gets pulled. Nikita Tolopilo goes in, pads the totals, by the way. Nikita Tolopilo up to a 911 save percentage on the year, looking good for our little bet, Harm. But anyways, Lankinen was a story in the game, and post game, Adam Foote kind of talked about how, you know, he's trying. Sometimes you have an off night, that sort of thing, and drops the bomb last night when he was asked about, oh, well, will Nikita Tolopilo start Thursday, which was what I was getting ready to come here and talk about. Foote just says, actually, it's probably going to be Demko today at practice. We're going to talk Jeff Patterson in a second here. Thatcher Demko was at practice. He spoke to media afterwards, declared himself ready to go. No, like, oh, I'm going to see how I feel tomorrow. Just nope, he's ready to go. He's going to start Thursday against the Buffalo Sabres. So that's going to be a boost. And I don't want to turn this into ragging on Kevin Lankinen too much, but when you control play the way the Canucks did in that first period, I think it was they were out shooting the Red Wings 8-2. And I know there was a defensive breakdown, but there were defensive breakdowns in front of Tolopilo in the first period against Minnesota as well. I always say this about goalies. You're allowed to stop the hard ones. Like, you're allowed to stop high danger chances. There's no rule against it. So when you have a goalie in Tolopilo who is making those saves, and then Lankinen where, okay, yeah, it's a tough one to save, and you give him a pass, obviously, those are the kind of moments where you would love your goaltender to come up big, make a save that they really have no business making, and it sends your team back the other way. Again, you had all that positive momentum. Your goalie makes a big save after a defensive miscue. You hope to clean it up in front of him, but you got the save. The game's still scoreless. You go back the other way and keep doing what you're doing. It totally changes the flow of a game. And when Ben Riemsdyk scored, that was the first thing I thought of is like, okay, yeah, Kevin Lankinen will get a pass on that one. Ben Riemsdyk's in all alone. Again, two Canucks chasing. That was a big theme of last night's game, but it was one where you were just waiting, or where I was at least looking at it and saying, like, wouldn't it have been nice to get a really big save there?
I understand, and you've got a point. Lankinen hasn't been at his best, but I also think it's unfair to compare Lankinen's numbers from this year compared to last year because it's a completely different defensive environment. Now, I think it's been a bit better, a bit more structured over the last couple of weeks, but by and large, the Vancouver Canucks have been one of the worst defensive teams in the NHL at 5-on-5,
Yes.
on the penalty kill, all these backdoor tap-ins, all these players in alone in the net
Yep.
front area. And we're in an era in the NHL where we've had this conversation with Kevin Woodley, and we're talking about this in the press box before the Utah game, where a lot of teams have recognized as well that defensive environment and a goaltender's performance have never been more closely tied together. Sure, there are outliers like a Thatcher Demko, who, when he's healthy and on top of his game, he is elite, and even when he's under siege, he can paper over some of those cracks. But outside of those 5 to 7 most talented goaltenders in the league, a lot of times the goaltender's play is just going to be tied to their defensive environment. And I think that's really important context to keep in mind, where I think both things can be true, where Lankinen could be better. But I still think that when you look at a season as a whole, I'm not specifically talking about last night, but when you look at Lankinen's track record as a whole, and his fall off, I think it's more about the defensive environment in front of him collapsing as opposed to his individual play falling off a cliff. Because let's not forget, the Canucks were a top 10 team in the NHL last year when it came to suppressing 5-on-5 shots against, when it came to suppressing 5-on-5 high danger chances against. To go from that to, all right, you're immediately one of the league's worst defensive teams, that's going to be a devastating blow to Lankinen, who, let's be honest, he's like on talent, he's an average goaltender, maybe slightly above average goaltender. Those are the types of guys whose save percentage are going to fluctuate and correlate sometimes the most with how well does the team defend in front of you.
And that's very fair. I would just say, let's see how Thatcher Demko does, because the guy was at a what did Demko have? 926 save percentage through 7 starts in October. They weren't world beaters on defense when Demko was in net. And I know I'm comparing him to an elite goaltender. I'm just saying that for this Canucks team, they're going to need the good goaltending. They thought they would get it from Lankinen, and yeah, they've sucked defensively, Harm, you're right. But they've gotten it from Demko, and really, to some extent, they've gotten it from Tolopilo as well.
For sure, but Tolopilo is 3-4 games. If you did this for, 15, 20 games, it'd be a different conversation.
Sure.
But even for Demko, after that October, his play started slipping. I mean, Demko's at a 903 save percentage on the season, which relative to the defensive environment is stellar, is really, really strong. But the point being, even Demko, after that 926, even his numbers started tailing off, because at a certain point, if you're being left out to dry every single night, it's going to impact your numbers.
I wasn't there today, so I can't say for certain. But one question I would have had that I do have for Thatcher Demko is, was this injury affecting your play at all? Because the 3 starts right before going down and sitting out for 3 weeks, he wasn't good. You're right. And that game against Winnipeg, let's not forget, 3 goals in the first period. Demko's been one of those guys where right when he starts to struggle, I think historically, I'd have to go back and fact check this. Right before he gets injured, he usually has a couple starts where he struggles. I wonder how much of that is part of the story. But again, we're not going to sit here and go back and forth on this. Let's see how Thatcher Demko does. The broader point is that this Canucks team is going to need some stellar goaltending if they're actually going to win some games here with how they've been playing.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right. Anything else on last night's game? And I mean, of course, we can get to it and anyone else, but I don't want to keep Jeff waiting any longer.
No, we can just go straight to Jeff.
Okay, but before that, I want to tell everybody that we got a super chat. Whoa, 2 of them? Oh, okay. All right, here we go. No, 1 of them. All right, from Bree Beck. Said, why do so many fans want to keep Quinn no matter what, rebuild or not? We can't win with him at his current contract. What's it going to be like at $17 million? I like that. Jacob, write that down so that I start anyone else for it. We got to get to Jeff, but we want to start anyone else with that. That's a good one. We'll kick it off with that one. Appreciate the super chat. I think it was a $5 donation. Yes, it was $5 donation to the BC Mental Health Foundation, which we of course appreciate. If you want to make sure your question or comment gets on the show, hit us with a super chat. Proceeds from a super chat go to the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by spreading breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. All right, let's bring him in. Jeff Patterson joins us now. He's a presentation of our friends at Greta YVR, the home of our next and all of our watch parties. Saturday, December 20th, 4 p.m. against Boston. Make sure you're there. Now, I've got this right. To reserve, text 604-256-4022. Just the number of people you want to reserve spots for the Canucks Army watch party. Text that number. That's how you're going to reserve spots. It's it's going to be good. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a really good time. Like I've told you before, $333 off select drinks, $333 for select drinks, $333 off select menu items, including that beautiful Greta Smash Burger. Come hang out with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to have the games on all screens with sound. They got the goal horn. You're going to have Harm and I there. We're all going to have a great time. Come out. Like I said, text 604-256-4022 to reserve your spot. All right. Jeff Patterson joins us now. J-Pat, have you texted that number to reserve your spot?
Not yet, but I'll be there. We'll do the usual pregame at least, and then head back to studio to do Rinkwide that night. But I think I'll be able to twist Earth's arm to join us at Greta as well. So come on down just before Christmas, throw on an ugly Christmas sweater if you don't want to wear a Canucks jersey by that point, or if you've thrown your jersey on the ice and you don't have anything left to wear and it has to be a Christmas sweater, whatever the case. Hey, I caught yesterday's program and you guys talked about the Tolopilo bet. Just refresh my memory on the parameters here. Is it 8 starts or is it 8 appearances? Because if it's 8 appearances...
Games. It's 8 games.
Then you just got thrown the biggest gift of all last night.
I know.
Okay, I thought Harmon was trying to say that's
clarified. I should have clarified.
Oh my gosh. I mean, we shouldn't have had to clarify anything. Jeff, you were watching the program. All I said was I think Tolopilo will finish with a higher save percentage than Askarov. I didn't say, and he's also going to make 8 starts. Like, what are you talking about?
But he literally, the point was Tolopilo at that moment in time, I believe even before last night, had a higher save percentage than Askarov. And the point being is if he's barely going to play down the stretch, you feel pretty strongly about his save percentage staying pretty high compared to Askarov, who's playing in San Jose.
But Askarov's great, Harm. Isn't he going to finish with a 9.15?
I never said he was going to finish with a 9.15.
Pretty confident. Sounded pretty confident. All right, Jeff. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Jeff,
see you at the watch party.
Jeff, in all seriousness, weigh in on this conversation that we were just having about Kevin Lankinen, about Nikita Tolopilo, about Thatcher Demko returning, mainly the Lankinen angle. Where do you kind of settle in on all of this?
Yeah, he hasn't given them enough saves, obviously. But I do think important context here, guys, is, and Adam Foote was quick to point it out post-game last night, he took that personal leave at the start of the California road trip. Clearly something was going on that didn't allow him to join his team out on the road. These are human beings, and we don't know what it is. The fact that he's back around his team would lend you to believe that the situation is stabilized, but as the guy is going through it, just remember that clearly there was an issue here that held him back. And so, it's never as simple as, oh, he's just not stopping pucks. He wants to stop more pucks, I'm sure. But without a doubt, I mean, the numbers are what the numbers are. And I looked it up today. I mean, of goalies that have started 10 games this season, there's 47 of them in the league. He's 41st in save percentage and 43rd in goals against average. So if we're just taking those sort of surface level goaltending statistics, he is way down the list. And that kind of matches the eye test that he just hasn't been good enough. Demko's missed a month of action and still leads this team in victories with 5, which is not a gaudy total, but he's 5-4. He's got a winning record, and Lankinen has been stuck on 4 victories since the win in Tampa. And remember that first period in Tampa, they outshot the Canucks 13-1. Like, he was really good that afternoon. But since then, it's been a struggle. And so I wasn't surprised to see the hook come out. Adam Foote, much like Rick Tocchet. Tocchet was reluctant to get goaltenders out there. Usually he's stuck with his starter throughout an entire hockey game unless there was injuries. And so it's taken a while to the 30-game mark before Adam Foote got the hook out and Lankinen came out of that hockey game. You look at the 3 goals, like the 3 that got past Lankinen, I'm not sure that I would classify any of them as bad goals. There was some bad defending, certainly. But to your point, Dave, like, the other guy at the other end seems to make more saves on a nightly basis. And this was supposed to be the backbone and the foundation of this Canucks team, was terrific goaltending, whoever was in, and, this veteran top 4 defensive core that was going to provide an environment that would allow the Canucks to grind out a bunch of low-scoring wins. And we just know that hasn't been the case. And, I posted on X earlier today, like, it's incredible what a difference 1 goal can make. But 30 games into the season, 15 times the Canucks have been held to 2 or fewer. 15 other times they've got 3 or more. In the games in which they've been held to 2 or fewer, 1 win in those 15 games. So they have 10 wins when they score 3 or more. It doesn't feel like it should be that much to ask to get to 3, but last night they couldn't get to any. So I don't think it would have mattered if Demko, Tolopilo, and Lankinen had been stacked on top of each other. All 3 of them in goal last night. If you're not going to score, it's just a really difficult way to win. And just quickly, guys, I thought it was interesting post-game Adam Foote when he talked about, double coverage on 2 of the 3 goals. And then he said, like, that's not the way we defend, but it is the way they defend. It's not the way he wants them to defend, but we've seen that so often in the first 30 games. And I just thought that first goal last night, Marcus Patterson loses a battle in the corner on the wrong side of the ice. And the minute he's on the wrong side of his player, then Aatu kind of panics. He goes down low, puck gets between him and gets out front to Van Riemsdyk, and then, nobody home to defend. So, defensive miscues, bad reads, poor reaction, and then they compound the problem because I think guys get panicky and a little bit desperate. And I think you saw that all rolled up into one ball. Like, that could sort of serve as, the template for what's going wrong with the Vancouver Canucks. It was just a lot of bad decisions on the opening goal last night that allowed Van Riemsdyk to put Detroit in front 1-0.
JP, one of the subplots around the Canucks on this recent homestand has been some observations about exactly how many fans are in the building and are we noticing some empty seats. A lot of people have pointed out on the secondary market and even with the student rush deals, how ticket prices are coming down, and even just generally with this team, where they are in the standings in such a high stakes season. We haven't had, like we did in previous years, jerseys on the ice or booing or anything along those lines. How, like, what have you noticed when you've been at the building around this team, around just where the fan base is at, and whether there is like a strong sense of apathy, and whether that's true or if you think maybe that part of it has been a little bit overblown? What are you noticing?
Well, I sat last night's game out and watched it from the studio, but I was there on Saturday for the lone victory, the bright spot in quite some time, and that was a Saturday, the final Saturday game before Christmas. And I was just shocked, quite frankly, at the number of empty seats, particularly behind the Canucks net, or the net they defend twice. And maybe part of it is that's where those burgundy seats still exist and they kind of stick out like a sore thumb. Whatever it is, it wasn't just a pocket of seats here and a pocket of seats there, or a pair of seats. Like, it was rows. It was big blocks of unused seats. And, I waited till about 5 minutes to go in the first period. So 15 minutes into the hockey game for the late arriving crowd, for it to fill in a little bit if people had started the game in the concourse, whatever. And I guess, I think that kind of painted a picture for me of where we are with this hockey club right now. And so, yeah, apathy, I think, is kicking in. I know the people that were there last night, a 4-0 loss, they really didn't get booed off the ice. I kind of feel like the Buffalo game, the fact that it's the Sabres, it's the final game before the holidays, the home game, because they go out on the road for 5. And it's being billed as the Christmas game by the Vancouver Canucks. Like, what's the mood going to be like if the Sabres, the 30th place Sabres, who got stampeded by Calgary last night and now are in Edmonton tonight, that's going to be 3-4 for them. But what if Buffalo comes in and beats the Canucks? Because everybody, it feels like, is beating the Canucks at Rogers Arena. So, apathy, yes. We really haven't seen it kind of turn ugly in there. And I mean, I can't control what the fans do. Fans pay their money. They can voice their opinion in any way they want. I hope people aren't stupid about it, but we have seen jerseys on the ice. We have heard protest chants in years gone by. They have 4 wins in 14 home games. Like, I get it if people are PO'd about what they have seen from this hockey club. So, yeah, I just think it's, the last game before the Christmas break, and it's the Buffalo Sabres. If it goes sideways there, what sort of reaction will we see? And I guess that's what I'm going to be looking for on Thursday night.
Well, they'll have Thatcher Demko back. That should help. You were at practice today, an optional practice, but you did get the chance to talk to Thatcher Demko. What were some of your takeaways from that?
Yeah, I mean, he's frustrated, obviously, having missed a month, and it's going to be exactly a month from November 11th to December 11th. He kind of joked about it, the fact that he's got this rehab thing down because he's been through it so many times. And, I mean, at least he was trying to make light of it, but, also acknowledging that this has become a common occurrence. I asked him if it was any more frustrating this time, given how early it happened in the season, because of the summer, that we had heard all about this full summer to train. And then the proof was there from preseason through the start of the year. He was showing signs of being his old self and getting his game back to the point where he truly is a difference maker. And remember, too, at training camp, where he stated, like, if I'm able to do the things that I know I'm capable of, I will be on that U.S. Olympic team. And that was confidence. Like, I mean, he had to go and back it up and had to stay healthy. So I did ask him about that as well. But when I just asked him about the frustration, I thought that's where he was just most honest and said, like, nobody is more pissed off than he is. And that the first week was really hard because he was beating himself up that, here we go again. But he also said, like, he knows there's a narrative around him. And I would push back that it's no longer a narrative. Like, injuries are part of the Thatcher Demko story. And, he celebrated his 30th birthday. And I think that's significant. That was yesterday. He's now on that side of 30. And if it's been a grind in his 20s, it's only going to get more difficult to play that position moving forward. So, he talked about how he's just trying to process it and be ready for Thursday and take it from there. He's not looking at the big picture and, worrying about the rest of the schedule. I asked him about runway and if there was enough left for this team to dig itself out of the hole. And he didn't really want to address that too much. And on the Olympic question, he said that's, you'd have to ask Bill Guerin. But then he acknowledged that, you got to be healthy to be able to participate. So I think he's sort of resigned to the fact that it's not going to happen for him. It was a long shot to begin with, just because of how much time he has missed here. But in some ways, maybe that, and he said, like, I'm not playing to make the Olympic team. I'm playing for the Vancouver Canucks. I just wonder if it kind of frees him up a little bit, like, just take that off the table entirely now. And he can just focus on being the best goalie that he is capable of being. But I just don't see there in any way between the lack of action here over the last month and the concerns about injury. I just don't know why USA Hockey would include him as part of the mix at this late stage. So, he sounded excited. He's a hockey player. He wants to play, doesn't want to be on the shelf. And let's see. But, he's got his work cut out for him, especially behind this defense, the way that it's playing, and ultimately a team that all of a sudden now, outside of Saturday night, can't score goals, right? Like 1 goal in each of the 3 games before they beat the Wild, and then none last night. So offense really an issue. And I know he can't score goals for the Canucks, and he's not going to run the power play, but he saw last night it's difficult to deliver victories, whoever's in goal, when the team doesn't score for the netminder.
Nils Höglander made his season debut last night. I thought at points in the third period, you could notice him again winning some battles along the boards. Some of the speed, I thought he looked quicker in the third period, set up an Ratu chance out in front in the third period as well. Overall, wasn't the flashiest performance for him. The numbers were fine. They were middling. Overall, what did you make of his return to the lineup last night?
Yeah, look, it's good that he's back, first and foremost. Other than that, it was an unspectacular return to the lineup, started in a fourth line capacity, which made some sense to me. Let him find the game again. And if it was going well, then promote him. And that's what happened in that third period. He got an opportunity to play with Ratu, and Jake DeBrusk basically swapped with Kiefer Sherwood when things weren't going the way that the Canucks had hoped. So there were some moments. He had his only shot in the night was in the first period. It was a pretty weak one. He'll get better. I think he played 13 and a half minutes, and he was out there for the 2-0 goal. And I'm not pinning it on him, but I think, they're a better team. He's an NHL player when you think of all the guys that have been plugging holes on this roster and in this lineup, but he's not at his best yet, and that's to be expected. And I'm going to continue to monitor just because we've seen so many guys through the years trying to jump on board when everybody else has a 30-game head start. Like, it's not easy. It's the best league in the world. It's a fast game. And so, he's got one under his belt now, can sort of shake off that rust, but you hope that there is progressions for him and obviously progression for the hockey club as well. So kind of curious to see, again, he was one of the few that was on the ice this morning. It was basically young guys. It was sort of the bottom 6 forward group and the young or the bottom of the defensive group. But Höglander was among the guys that skated. No sense of line rushes or anything like that because there weren't enough players on the ice today. But we'll get a better idea, I think, at practice tomorrow of is he going to remain down in the bottom 6 or on the fourth line, or was that promotion something that he will start with now as they move into this next game against Buffalo? So I think just probably good for him to get one out of the way. We're not going to grade him too heavily on it like the rest of the team. There's room for improvement, and hopefully he can get up to speed and find his game sooner rather than later.
Jeff, thank you for doing this, my friend. We will see you soon on Rink Wide Vancouver, and of course, we will chat with you next week.
Yeah, and the only other news of the day was that Adam Foote had suggested that EP40 would probably practice tomorrow. But Foote said, don't hold me to that, but we'll see what happens. So that was the update from the update because he really didn't have one post-game last night when he was asked, but he said that it had been a good day so far for Petey, and he fully expected him to practice, and if all went well at practice, then return to the lineup on Thursday against the Sabres. So that would mean 2 games missed. So that sounds like positive development for a team that can use all of the NHL centermen that it has at its disposal. And so we'll monitor that full practice on Wednesday at Rogers Arena before they get set for the game on Thursday night.
Love it. Thanks, Jeff.
All right, guys.
There he is. Jeff Patterson. Like you said, check him out. Rink Wide Vancouver, and also wrote a nice scenes from practice today over at CanucksArmy.com. You can go check that out. Up now at CanucksArmy.com. Oh, I forgot to ask Jeff. Okay, whatever. We'll get him back another time. He had a really interesting.
He's still in the back. If you want me to bring him back in, I can see him smiling.
No, well, if he wants to. Jeff, you want to come back?
I'm back.
You wrote something in the mailbag. The headline of the mailbag this week was, "Could a healthy Canucks roster compete for a playoff spot?" Please tell us about your findings as this team gets Thatcher Demko back.
Yeah, so I think it starts with I had them as a 96-point team in my preseason prediction, and I thought with 96 points they would be right there on the cusp. not knowing how the season would play out around them as well. But I just kind of figured that solid goaltending, we talked about that. I believed, I guess, foolishly now, 30 games in the defense core. And I thought that they had enough up front. And I was never sold that Filip Heedel was going to stay completely healthy, but I thought they might get more than 6 games out of him. But I still thought a bounce back season for EP40 and with Besser and DeBrusk and Garland, that there was enough there. And so I had them as a sort of fringe playoff team. But now as I look, and I took the question to mean, this group, a healthy group here, so it includes Filip Heedel. But you have to look at some of the struggles, and it goes hand in hand with the lack of depth down the middle and the injuries that they've had. But, I didn't see Jake DeBrusk's struggles of 1 5-on-5 goal at the 30-game mark. I expected more from Evander Kane. Brock's gone ice cold now, and I feel for Brock and Connor Garland because they're being dragged down by David Kampf, who's played 10 games and doesn't have a single point. So I think through all of that, the flaws defensively and some of the struggles up front, I didn't see the penalty kill being dead last. I know it's not in the basement anymore. Roundabout way, I think I overshot with my prediction, and I just don't see, even if everybody had a clean bill of health, how this would be a playoff team this season. So that was my conclusion.
I had them second in the Pacific with 100 points. So,
and I think
was also wrong.
But I think part of it is, guys, like, at least I'll cop to this. Like, I want playoff hockey in Vancouver again, right? Like,
yes.
And so I was maybe trying to manifest this and make it happen for them because it was fun. Playoff hockey is fun. It was fun. We saw that in the spring of 2024. And so maybe I overshot my estimation thinking that, hey, I'll give them a little bump here, make it happen. But 30 games in, 11 wins, it feels like the playoffs are a pipe dream for this season. So, yeah, there you go. I'm going back into hiding now. So, yeah.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks, Jeff. There he is again, Jeff Patterson. That was great. All right, Harm, you feeling like some numbers?
Let's do it with the stat of the day, which is a presentation of Uber Eats. Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. From game day eats to paper plates and napkins, if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip. Before, during, and after the game, Uber Eats is assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. Hashtag crave the stats. This builds on what we talked about off the top, where the Canucks, at least territorially, are moving in the right direction. They're controlling play a little bit better, but the results and finishing hasn't quite been there. I wanted to specifically look at Kiefer Sherwood because he's gone cold now in terms of his point in goal production, and we especially want to monitor that because he is the Canucks' most valuable pending UFA asset that they're trying to shop right now. The encouraging thing is that I think we expected, his scoring rate from the first quarter of the season would slow down because he was shooting around 30% and was on a bender. He's gone cold, but at least he's still getting looks, right? So he's in his last game fired 24 shots on goal, so an average of 4 per game. And he is second on this Canucks team, only narrowly behind Jake DeBrusk in terms of individual expected goals with 3. So the point being, Sherwood's generated enough looks that if he had just converted on them at an average efficiency, he should have had 3 goals in his last 6 games. Which, couple ways of looking at it. First, the regression and slowdown was inevitable to some extent, but also sometimes when players, especially middle 6 or bottom 6 guys, they'll start really hot, the production dries up. It becomes more alarming if their shot and chance rates also go down, because then I'm less confident that over the balance of the season, they're going to be able to bounce back offensively, at least in the case of Sherwood. And you saw last night in last 2-3 games where he's getting some looks. You can see the frustration starting to build as well. Especially on some of the offsides, just barking at the refs, even though on a lot of those offsides, the refs called it correctly. And if you look at Sherwood and DeBrusk combined, in the last 6 games, they've combined for six expected goals. And DeBrusque had a lot of looks off redirects and whatnot against the Red Wings as well. 0 actual goals between DeBrusque and Sherwood. So that's part of the story for this Canucks team.
I think you just gave Jim Rutherford a new clip to send to other GMs.
Yeah,
You saying Sherwood should have had 3 goals in his last 6 games.
but also early on, we know he was getting bounces he didn't deserve, so it all balances out.
Cut it, Jim. Cut it. Cut this part, Jim. Don't include this part. Don't include this part. Good stuff, Harm. Good stuff.
Also, I wanted to pick up on the Lankinen thing, because not to dwell on it too much more, but I see people pointing out his record of, he's only won X of his last X starts. And yeah, he's lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row. But I want to read to you the Canucks goals scored during those Lankinen starts. 0 against Detroit, 1 against Utah, 1 against Colorado, 1 against LA, 2 against Calgary, and 2 against Dallas. So how many points has Lankinen honestly cost them, right? Like, you could say, maybe Lankinen makes 1 or 2 more saves in the Detroit game. Doesn't make a difference when you score 0 goals. Doesn't make a difference when you score 1 goal against Utah.
I agree. And maybe this is too much of a vibes take, Harm. Maybe this is too vibesy for you. But when your goalie stands on his head and makes those saves, right? Makes the saves early in the game, it allows you to go the other way and go score goals. Now, I get it.
No, I don't buy that. The only way where I think the only theory I'll buy in terms of goaltending affecting what you generate offensively is if it's, say, an Oilers type situation in the first third of the season where they've had such a large sample size of Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard not being reliable. And so sometimes you would see, the Oilers aren't taking as many offensive chances as they would, but this Canucks team is still flying up and down the ice. They're not playing conservatively. They're still attacking aggressively. I don't buy that. I don't buy that.
Maybe it's too vibesy, but I look at the Minnesota game, man. Nikita Tolopilo was turning aside the wild chances early on, and the Canucks went back the other way and scored goals.
Yeah, well, Tolopilo at least had run support in that game.
After he was under
okay,
siege.
So you're telling me, I don't.
It changes the vibe, man. Look, man, if you've played the game,
they also shot 30% in that Minnesota game. Like, they were. Let's be honest, there was a luck component to it.
I don't know how to prove it wrong, but I don't like shooting percentage.
Okay, so I'm assuming you're on. See, this is where you would have probably been on board with re-signing Kuzmenko when a lot of us were ahead of that deadline saying, yeah, he's on pace for however many goals. Let's trade him because his shooting percentage is through the roof.
I came on and cried on this show when they extended Kuzmenko. We were talking about adding, and
I need to see this clip.
No, seriously, you'll find it. Not to transition the conversation away too much from what we were talking about, but I remember both Chris and I were like, this is insane that they didn't trade Kuzmenko. Because if memory serves, it was, Jacob, look it up. It was either right after they had traded. It was when they still had the picks from the Horvat trade. They hadn't traded for Filip Hronek yet. And we were thinking like, it's going to be a rebuild. It's finally going to be a rebuild. And Chris and I were both like, all right, this is going to be great. Maybe don't play that clip. Chris is currently employed by the Canucks. If they find out he was pro rebuild at one point, oh my gosh. But in all seriousness, we were very like, they should have traded Kuzmenko because we thought at the time that, they've got this first round pick from the Horvat trade. They could have had 3 first round picks in that draft.
So you're a believer in shooting percentage then?
At times.
When it suits your agenda.
Exactly. Thank you. There you go. I'm glad you figured it out.
I will say I'm not going to play it because it's long and I'd have to listen for the exact moment. I did find the video of you and Faber.
Already?
That was fast. How?
The video is called Pros and Cons of the Andrei Kuzmenko extension. And it was just a snippet from the show talking about the extension. And you guys
we were not happy.
Tweets up on screen, actually. Harmon saying this is a good contract, but doesn't fit with the Canucks timeline. They're not going to contend in the next 2 years. Van would have been better off moving him for a haul. So we've got Harmon's take there.
Hang on.
And you guys are reacting to it. But again, I won't be able to actually play it because it'll take too much to cut it out. But it is available. Just it's Canucks Conversation from January 26th, 2023. So just search it on YouTube. You guys can find it.
Nice work, Jacob. All right. Do you want to get to anyone else?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's get to anyone else, which is a presentation. All I got to do is one of these days copy and paste the script because I have a new script, right? And I've talked about this multiple days. I have a new script, and all I have to do is leave it open, but I close my tabs as soon as the show's done. I'm just so excited to get going. But
See,
anyways.
if you believe, people who believe in shooting percentage don't make these kind of errors. That's all I'm going to say.
Also, I'm not sure if you caught it, so I have to repeat it. Did you not catch me say if you played the game when I was talking about vibes?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I did, but
I did not quote unquote play the game. Not nearly enough to say, oh, if you've played the game. I just love when people use that as an argument of like, look, man, I played some beer league. I played Adam A2. So just relax. Anyways. Let's go. Let's get to our segment, Anyone Else, which is a presentation of Pacific Toyota dealers in the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid, a no-compromise approach to electric vehicles that offers the best of both worlds. You can drive up to 72 kilometers on battery alone, enough to get you from downtown to the rink, the grocery store, and home to recharge. You can seamlessly transition from electric mode to the gas engine for a combined range of 962 kilometers. There's no sacrifices when it comes to horsepower style with its sleek, low, and wide exterior and sophisticated interior. It's loaded with tech that's actually easy to use. Plug in to recharge at home or at one of the over 2,000 public charging stations in BC alone. And now you can lease a 2026 Prius plug-in hybrid SE from $109 weekly at 3.99% APR for 64 months with $3,300 down. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. All right, couple things to get started with Anyone Else, because we've got two super chats that I want to get to. Let's start with this one from Brebeck. Why do so many fans want to keep Quinn no matter what, rebuild or not? We can't win with him at his current contract. What's it going to be like at $17 million? I am of the opinion that we always say, like, oh, Canucks need to win a cup. Canucks need to win a cup. I think it's iffy. Obviously, it's iffy if you go into a rebuild and like rebuilding teams don't always win the Stanley Cup, right? It's also iffy if you keep Quinn Hughes that you win a Stanley Cup, but I think people are more likely to be on the side of, okay, I know how good Quinn Hughes is. I'm okay with keeping him with whatever it costs and just finding a way to build around him. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, whether Quinn's on this team or not, you're still going to need at least 1 or 2 years where you're bottoming out and landing elite talent to change where this organization is at. I mean, even in a scenario where the Canucks are able to extend Quinn long-term, there are, like, what's the realistic path to building a cup contender, right? Unless you finish near the bottom and have multiple top 5 picks. I don't see it. You still have a goaltender that in Thatcher Demko that has to prove he can stay healthy. You still have no second line center, and the second line center piece is incredibly difficult to acquire. Feels like as many as 10 to 15 teams in the league are looking for a legit 2C. You in general lack elite game-breaking talent offensively. Your defensive system has been a mess. There are just so many problems with this team as it's currently constructed that even if you have Quinn, I still think they're going to need to bottom out for at least a year or two to have any shot at rebounding.
I don't disagree with you. And I think that's ultimately why fans are just, I don't know. Obviously there's a lot of fans that are eager to trade Quinn Hughes, and I get that. But make no mistake about it, that stems from a belief and a fear that Quinn isn't going to want to stay. Like, nobody is sitting here saying, well, Quinn obviously wants to stay, but we should trade him because I think that's what's best for the Canucks. It's, okay, if he doesn't want to be here, trade him now, get the best thing you can. And we talked about, I think we both agree that you'd probably get more at this trade deadline than you would in the offseason or at the next year's trade deadline.
And if there was a scenario, hypothetically, where he was willing to re-sign for whatever reason, you'd have to sell him on okay, we're going to bottom out this year. We're going to bottom out next year. And then with 2 top 5 picks, plus some of our younger players like Villander, Lecker-Mackey, DPD,
Whoever you draft at overall.
Braden Coots. We're gonna sell some of our other pieces now as well. Maybe like a Marcus Paterson, a vet, and recoup draft picks that way. You'd have to try, and I think the most convincing case would be to pitch him on like a 2-year turnaround plan where you crash and burn hard, which you're already kind of doing this year, and then hope for a quick climb back up on the back of a couple of top 5 picks and your other young players developing, plus making some trades now where it's Sherwood, I'm just throwing out Patterson as one example. Your other pending UFAs, and it's just accumulate hard for a couple of years and then hope that there's a bounce back that way, because I don't think there's any. Quinn's a smart enough guy. I don't think you can just sell him on the status quo and don't worry, Quinn, we got a plan to turn things around and make the playoffs next year.
Did you hear his build through the draft comment last night?
Yeah.
When he was talking about the Red Wings? Quinn's a smart guy. Further to that point, I bring up the fact that I brought up a while back, I'd say, when we started talking rebuild, is that they're not on third base, maybe not even on second base. But when it comes to a rebuild with the young players that they already have, the Canucks are at least on first base with a good-sized leadoff. Like, they've got some interesting pieces. And a lot of teams, I've said this before, so sorry if this is something you've heard before. A lot of teams, when they say we're going to rebuild, they start from nothing. Like, they don't have anything coming and they sell off what pieces they have. The Canucks already have some of their pieces because they've kept some of their high picks over the past few years. Again, like a lot of rebuilding teams, when they declare we're going to rebuild, they don't have a Braden Coots in their pipeline already. I mean, just look at Nashville. Is Nashville a good example of this?
No. Nashville's pipeline is actually pretty decent. They got guys like Tanner, Molendijk, Matthew Wood's been making an impact as a rookie. They just drafted Brady Martin 5th overall. They got other young guys as well. I mean, not all of them are going to hit, but they're deep on.
Yeah, they've got some pieces.
Prospects. Not saying their future's bright by any means, and they also own a lot of picks. Like they've got multiple first-round picks. I think either coming up or had multiple first-round picks this past year. You'd be more looking at Boston when they first were crashing, and okay, now they've started to stock back up with drafting Hagen 6th overall, with getting Minton and owning the Leafs pick as part of the Brandon Carlo trade, or the Penguins when the Penguins, and I know the Penguins are in a playoff spot now, but a couple of whether you want to call it last year or the year before, there was a point where, whether they officially admitted it or not, they moved off of Jake Gensel and started prioritizing the future, and clearly said, we're not going to prioritize being competitive right now. And they started with nothing, but now, even in just a couple of years, they've got younger pieces like Kindle, who's making impact as a rookie. I believe Brunick ended up being one of the players they took with one of the picks they got as part of the Gensel haul. And so now the Penguins actually have some young pieces, but when they first were falling, it was, all right, the cupboards are empty here.
There's a couple comments I want to read to you. Well, the first one, I want to read this. This is directed at me, and I think he's right. I agree. T. Rogers said, I disagree. Fans aren't eager to trade Hughes. We're eager to know what the heck the direction is. It's this unknown fence sitting that drives me crazy. I 100% agree. And I also think when you have a homestand where this starts to get a little bit quieter in the building and you start to hear some boo birds, like something has to change and a direction needs to be kind of forged ahead. Now, I think the other part of this is that, like, Jim Rutherford, you would think maybe it's just going to be Alvin. It might just be Alvin. But like one of those guys in management is going to have to speak soon. Usually they speak ahead of the holiday break, if I'm not mistaken, maybe right after, and then obviously trade deadline as well. But you usually hear from management when things are going the way they are. And it's been a few weeks since we last heard from Jim Rutherford with the interview via our pal Patrick Johnson about the Canucks wanting to trade some of their vets. So I think we're due. I think we're getting near due for some words from management. So again, one of those questions will obviously be, what is the direction? I wanted to read you these comments, Harm. This is from Saltaire Brew. Harm makes me sad, but he's right. And then Harman Dial has the most realistic takes in all of sports. It's kind of crazy how dialed in he is with his takes. Are you like typing on a keyboard? Are you typing? You got a little burner account going? You can tell us.
Dude, I can barely keep up with the chat while also paying attention to the show, which is why I never look at the YouTube live chat. So you think
I don't even try to.
You think I can multitask fast enough to have a burner and be furiously typing away?
Jacob, run an IP scan. I'm kidding. We can't do that. We don't know how to do that. Don't worry. All right.
Oh, I know how to do that. I'm just not going to.
You can do that with someone like commenting on YouTube?
Sort of.
No,
I could. In theory, I could take like the Google Forms link for Family Feud and run it through like an IP tracker and then have it track the IPs of everyone who clicks on it. I'm obviously not doing that. I don't do that. We don't take any info when we do Family Feud. It is completely anonymous.
But we could, is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
But we could piss us off and we can. So shockingly, after Jacob's little speech there,
piss us off and we might just show up on your doorstep.
Yeah. We've got a shockingly low turnout for Family Feud in the coming weeks. How are we doing on Family Feud surveys, Jacob?
It's funny. I'm pulling it up to check right now. We are at 73 responses, so getting close. And we've got you guys might be in trouble this week. There's a very big spread on some of these questions. Good work, everyone filling out the survey. We've got some great responses.
Right. Any joke responses in there, and I might send Jacob after you.
He's kidding.
I'm kidding.
He's kidding. All right. Condone in the chat, regular listener of the show, said, I know everyone wants us to tank, but is it even possible to make the playoffs, and how would they do it? What would they need to change to even compete? I asked him to clarify. I said, which season are you talking about? He said this year. I don't think it's really possible for them to make the playoffs. Now, how would they do it? I mean, all sorts of shortcut moves. Maybe they could get to the playoff bar. That would be grossly irresponsible, but realistically, like, how could they do it? Thatcher Demko was asked about this today, and he just said, like, it's a condensed schedule. There's so many games. There's teams that go on heaters. Like, there's no reason that can't be us. They've played well. They've played well in front of Thatcher Demko. We're not going to sit here and say it's impossible. It's not mathematically impossible. It's been a while since I pulled up the Money Puck playoff odds, Harm.
Oh, don't use Money Puck, man.
Why?
I don't like their model. I do. It spits out. I don't know. I like some of their other resources. I don't want to just bash on Money Puck, but a lot of times I've looked at their playoff model and really side-eyed some of the numbers they've thrown out.
Well, according to Money Puck, 5.9% chance of making the playoffs. Buffalo Sabres at 5.6, Nashville at 4.2. Those are the only teams below the Canucks. Rattle off a couple of wins, though, and that can increase. So, hey, the battle for 7% is taking place on Thursday.
Yeah, I think the Fantasyland scenario where they would make the playoffs would require Demko staying healthy and playing at a Vezina level for the rest of the season, Heedel returning at some point in the season, staying healthy for the remainder of the season, and being a legit 2C. I think those two things would immediately raise your floor. You would need Quinn Hughes he's been playing well overall, but he hasn't been playing at the borderline Hart Trophy level. He would need to be a Hart Trophy contender the rest of the way. You would need Marcus Patterson and Tyler Myers to rebound and be the absolute peak best versions of themselves. You would need your PK to return to last year's form, to being one of the best in the NHL, which probably requires Teddy Bluger coming back, Derek Forbort coming back. You would need shooting percentage bender so that I
think we get it, Harv.
Yeah, hey, I'm just trying to map out what it would realistically look, because you're right, it's not impossible mathematically. I think practically we look at that and go, that's near impossible. But because it's not mathematically impossible, I figured I'd at least answer the question earnestly.
Yeah, you did a good job. It's just started to make me sad again, which is like someone else in the chat said, Harmon's always right, but he makes me sad. Okay, I wanted to get to this. We didn't bring it up yesterday. Braden Coots, his first step at making Team Canada. My goodness, I'm pulling so hard for this kid, and he's a good kid, really like him, want him to succeed, but B, what the hell is Canucks Army's World Junior content going to look like if this kid doesn't make the team? Are we going to be Team Switzerland beat reporters with Basile Sansonins as the only guy that we cover and talk about? I'm rooting for Braden Coots. Hope he makes Team Canada. Ideally, he's the first line center, but I'm hearing that's not happening.
No,
Yeah. No. I was joking. I don't need I don't need the whole thing about Team Canada. We're gonna have Stephen Ellis on the show tomorrow, and we'll let him do that. Stephen Ellis is gonna talk to us. Interestingly enough, Stephen had Coots as part of his preliminary roster that he put together. He had him on the fourth line wing of the roster he put together not too long ago. So it'll be interesting to see what Stephen has to say about that tomorrow. But yeah, Team Canada is going to be absolutely loaded at the World Juniors. I'm excited. I'm excited for the World Juniors. I'm excited for Olympic hockey as well. We did talk about it last week, so I want to get to this as well. Bill Daly talked about the Olympic ice issues, and he said that none of the issues facing them seem insurmountable. Just said that if the players decide that it's not safe to play, they won't play. I can't imagine that is going to be the case. Seems like we're back on track and that players are going to be at the Olympics, which is a good thing.
I wanted to bring this up. Did our boy from Richmond, BC, Troy Stetcher, just save the Maple Leaf season?
Oh, good take, Arm. Good
unironically, I'm being dead serious. Where the Leafs blue line, Chris Tanev's been out, Brendan Carlo's been out. So the right side of the blue line has been terrible. And their bottom four in general couldn't move the puck at all. The Leafs around the midway point of November were allowing the most goals against of any team in the Eastern Conference. Troy Stetcher, they picked him up off waivers. Since then, Stetcher's helped the Leafs control 55% of scoring chances in his minutes, which leads all Leafs players. They've outscored opponents 10-4, and this isn't even in a depth role down the lineup. He started down the lineup. During this recent Leafs 4-0-1 run, which has them back in the thick of the playoff race, he's averaged 23.50 per game. 23.50 per game for the Leafs. Now, obviously, when Tanev comes back, he's going to play further down the lineup. But Stetcher's mobility, he's even chipped in with some points. He continues to be one of the most underappreciated, I think, depth defenseman in the NHL. I would take him as a number 5-6 guy on my team any day of the week. And it's a shame that he gets consistently overlooked and has to bounce around just because he's small. I mean, even in the playoffs for the Oilers last year, he was a stud for them at times. Good to see Troy playing well. He's a good dude.
Absolutely. Karn in the chat. The Leafs have a decor of OEL, Tanev, Stetcher, and a tall guy named Myers. Jim Penning ass blue line.
Also, OEL. I don't know if you've noticed, he's got 20 points in 29 games.
Yeah, he's been good. He's
been really good.
Cali Canucks says Dom's model still has the Canucks at 18%. I knew Dom was the best. No,
I've told Dom. I've told Dom that his model is still too high on him. And I think the reasoning he gave me is that last year the team's numbers were still pretty decent under Tocchet. And so his model isn't, because it uses priors, it's not going to be super quick to update based on this season's results, because this season is still have we officially hit the 30 game mark or are we at 29?
No, 30. I think they played exactly 30, haven't they?
Yeah. So the longer the sample increases, you'll see Dom's model start to rate them more accurately.
You heard it here first, folks. Harmon Dial, analytics don't work.
I'm not taking the bait. I'm not taking.
No,
the
you
bait.
did a good job. You did a good job. Rolly in the chat said, I would like to know if Heedel is out of the dark room yet. The answer is yes, and I think that's a really positive when it comes to Philip Heedel. And again, we're talking long-term health, and to be quite honest, and I'll just say this, I think I figured out the perfect way to put this. I don't have a super big appetite for Philip Heedel to get back on the ice, and I'm not itching to see Philip Heedel put himself in a hockey game again. What I am happy to hear is that Philip Heedel's recovery is at the point where he's skating, he's getting his heart rate up, and it's not an extended time. You think about some of the stories you've heard about some of these guys recovering from concussions, even guys I know, man, like you can be in, and again, he uses the term the dark room, like you can be really sensitive to light, really sensitive to sounds for a really long time. So the fact that that's not the case for Heedel, really happy to hear that.
Yeah, for me, it's more about the quality of life long term for
Exactly.
Filipino rather than simply can he come back and be the 2C. I'm sure for his sake, he wants to still play in the NHL. It's his career, it's his purpose, it's his livelihood. And yeah, in a perfect world, would you like to see Heedle able to return, not play or not get hurt again and be healthy for the rest of his NHL career? Absolutely. How realistic is that? I'm not certain, but at the very least, glad that he's in a position where he is able to get the heart rate up and is at least trending in the right direction.
I'll just say this, and Saltaire Canuck at the chat said, watching him on the ice again would stress me out. We were stressed out before the injury, the Tom Wilson hit, right? And what we were stressed out about was basically what happened with him getting hit. And I really, that's really all I'm gonna say about it. I'm not gonna sit here and tell the guy what to do. Like you said, it's his livelihood. He wants to come back, and I'm just hoping he stays healthy. And I'm hoping I'm hoping that he has the best quality of life possible. And like I said, I'm very happy to hear that it wasn't one of these like prolonged dark room situations for Filipino. All right, last thing. I know we're going a bit over time. I apologize. Your pal Michael Russo over The Athletic reporting that the Canucks turned down a trade offer from the Wild that would have seen Marco Rossi go to the Canucks, with the Canucks giving up Aatu Ratu, the 15th overall pick, which of course was used for Braden Coots, and Archer's Shelovs. They did not take this deal. What say you, Harm?
I think at the time you wouldn't have had a ton of pushback on the trade, because at that point you have to remember that the Canucks were in a mode of trying to be competitive to keep Quinn Hughes and make him happy enough to stay and sign long term. However, I think seeing the way the season has gone, how fantastic Coots looked in training camp, I mean, of course you're glad right now that the Canucks didn't make that trade, but a lot of that is also just related to where the Canucks are at in this team building phase. Rossi's still a really good player, and he's also young, so it's not as if you would have been trading for, I don't know, like a 28-year-old. You would have been able to sign him to a pretty favorable long-term contract as an RFA, and he was off to a pretty good start with 13 points in 17 games before he got hurt. So you're obviously glad that the Canucks didn't take that deal, just because they're clearly headed to towards some type of rebuild or retool where you'd rather have Coots and hang on to as many futures as you can.
Do you applaud Rutherford and Alvin at all for holding off on that?
Yeah, I think you credit them for not making desperate moves in the summer. I think that was the biggest takeaway from their offseason was they didn't do enough to improve the team, A. And I wasn't a fan of Suter out, Kane in. However, at least they avoided the possibility of just pushing all their chips into the middle of the table, mortgaging first-round picks and prospects, and still not being good enough this season, and still staring down at the possibility of Quinn Hughes leaving.
I'll tell you, owner quads, and really me in general, I would have made that trade in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
I just wasn't high on Aturatu. Maybe I was wrong about that. I don't know. I just don't think Aturatu is ever going to be anything more than like maybe like a high-end fourth-line center, low-end 3C. But clearly they think higher of him. So that, and hey, good for them. I just, again, you traded Shelovs for a fourth-round pick. So what are we talking about here?
How early before the draft was that trade offered, right? Because obviously the Canucks used that pick on Coots.
Mm-hmm.
Like, had they already made their mind up? Like, oh, if Coots falls to us, we're taking him. And like that's what I'd be curious to know, because
I don't think so, because now correct me if I'm wrong, either of you can or anyone in the chat, but I'm pretty sure the talks fell apart like before the draft. It
Yeah, I
wasn't
think
like
so.
a draft day thing.
Well, and that's what I mean, right? Like because if the Canucks had already made their mind up that we want Coots, then now you're taking a risk, because if Coots went at 12 overall, you didn't make that trade because the guy that you wanted at 15 wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that could have been pretty rough, and I think we'd be looking back on this a little differently had the prospect they taken not already established himself as one of the best prospects they have in their system.
Yep.
Right? Like if they had taken someone who didn't even get an actual preseason look, and fans were kind of soured on that middle of the first round guy, I think people would look at this trade a little differently.
Karn said you only do that. You only do that trade if there was just as big a trade ready to follow up. They needed multiple big pieces in the offseason. All right. Anything else, Arm?
No, I'm good.
Sweet. Tune in tomorrow, folks. Stephen Ellis is going to join us, and we're also going to tackle how the Canucks can nail a Quinn Hughes trade. That's going to be the topic of tomorrow's show. So make sure you tune in. Let's get to our Bet 365 bet of the day. Jacob, no idea what I took yesterday. What was my bet?
I wrote it down. You were the comment said you're the first person to ever bet on Harrison Barnes, which is obviously not true, but you took Harrison Barnes under 2.5 3-pointers made. He hit 4.
Darn. And the over was plus money.
Yeah.
Damn. Who does he play for again?
San Antonio Spurs.
All right. Well, I know what tomorrow's bet's going to be. They're in action, taking on the LA Lakers. We got to get right.
Sorry, I will say they actually won over New Orleans by 3 points. So he made the difference in the win. Not only did he hit the over, he made the difference to win a game for his team. So there you go.
All right. Tonight we're going with a long shot. We're going long shot underdog. If we're either going even or we're getting all our money back. We're going with the Toronto Raptors. They are underdogs at home against the New York Knicks. Plus 175. You can get Raptors money line. Pretty heavy underdogs there. You can get them plus 175. Raptors money line. That's our bet tonight. That's our bet of the day. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet 365. Download the app and get it on the game. Use the code NATION at Bet365. Must be 19 plus to play. If you choose to play, please play responsibly. We will. Okay.
Quads, don't end yet, because that Raptors game against the Knicks tonight is an NBA Cup game. Do you know what that is? Because if not, you're about to have your mind blown.
No.
So the NBA Cup is an in-season tournament that is played by NBA teams. So the Raptors had a group stage and they won all of their group stage games. They qualified for the quarterfinals, and they split into the East and West. So if they beat the Knicks, I don't know what the other quarterfinal is, but then they'd go to the Eastern final of the NBA Cup. And all of these count towards the regular season standings as well as the NBA Cup. But if you make it to the final, you get a game in Vegas for a trophy in the middle of the season.
That sounds so dumb and gimmicky. Is Vince McMahon behind this? Like, what are we talking about?
It is, but also I don't hate it just because it's a way to spice up the regular season. No one's going to throw up, oh, we won an NBA Cup as if it means anything. But
I'm pretty sure I gave a take on this before.
Players get like monetary bonuses for winning. So
good.
So like the teams kind of don't really care. You're not going to like raise a banner and do a whole like ring ceremony for an NBA Cup, but the players get paid. I think they get paid a fair bit for winning as well. So
was this like in an effort to get the players to actually play during the regular season?
Yeah, probably.
Exactly. Yeah, and like I said, all of the round robin and the first 2 knockout games just count in the regular season standings. They like the round robin is just regularly scheduled games. Now this Raptors Knicks game, they would reschedule from later in the year and move stuff around. You see it in soccer all the time, obviously, where they have cup tournaments going throughout the season. But yeah, if they make it to the NBA Cup final, then that's a bonus game that you get to play in Vegas for money. So there you go. That's you're betting on the Raptors to advance in the NBA Cup tonight.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Jacob. All right. That's all I got. My mind is blown from the NBA Cup conversation. Yeah, I don't have anything else. Either of you?
No.
Beautiful.
Nope.
Well, we will wrap it up there then. Good. We're gonna have a good show tomorrow. It's gonna be a big show. Nailing a Quinn Hughes trade. Stephen Ellis is gonna be on the show. It's gonna be a fun one. Then Thursday we'll play Family Feud. Thanks for spending your Tuesday with us, folks. For my co-host Harmon Dial and our technical producer Jacob Lazar, my name is Dave Woodrelli. Thanks so much for listening of Canucks Conversation.
Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.